In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 things that you can start doing right away to stop self-punishment once and for all. So this is something that I have been dealing with for a while myself, maybe my whole life, or most of it, as far as I can remember, really, but often unconsciously. However, now that it has been brought to my conscious awareness, I've been intentionally working to change it. And I want to share with you what I've learned so far. So the first thing you can do in order to stop punishing yourself is to stop abandoning yourself. So what do I mean by that? When you desire something, maybe it's a business, maybe it's an experience, maybe it's a child, whatever it might be, but you don't allow yourself to go after that and to have that thing because perhaps you feel like you're not good enough or you're not worthy enough, or that's not something that you can do, right? Maybe it works for other people, but you don't believe it would work for you, or you don't believe that you have those skills, those abilities, or the knowledge. This is one way in which you are punishing yourself because you're holding yourself back from living life how you'd really like to live it. You know, when you have a desire to do something, the desire is there for a reason. It's there for you to live it out and bring it into the physical reality. So don't abandon that. Don't ignore that. Really feel into that. And if it is something that you feel really passionate about, strongly about, it doesn't need to be overnight, but begin to work towards that. And if that means you might need to learn some new skills along the way. But you may also be abandoning yourself if you are ignoring or suppressing your emotions, because your emotions are a very real, very deep part of you, and they come up to the surface to be acknowledged and experienced because they have a message to deliver. There is something that they are there to communicate. But if you suppress it, you don't listen to it, you distract yourself by just grabbing your phone or opening the fridge and grabbing something to eat, you are abandoning yourself in that moment as well. You're abandoning your own needs because your emotions are basically your inner child reaching out, calling, crying for help, and you are ignoring it. So stop doing that. Give yourself the time, the space, the energy that you deserve, that you give to other people. All right? Give it to yourself as well, and give it to yourself first. Another way that you may be abandoning yourself is making decisions based on what other people's expectations are of you, or what you believe they expect of you, or what you believe you should be doing because that's what your society told you, that's what your parents led you to believe, or whatever it is, but it's not actually who you are, or it's not actually what you want to do, right? So have the courage as well to really honor your feelings and honor what feels right for you, what you feel drawn to and excited about. Follow the excitement, follow your bliss, follow the happiness, and do what makes you happy. Because if you're not, that is a form of self-punishment. The next thing is to stop ruminating over, stop obsessively thinking over the things that bother you. Maybe it's something that happened that was not pleasant. Maybe it's something that you are fearing about the future, because if you keep obsessing over it, you are living in the past, and that is limiting your present moment and your future. It's limiting what is possible for you, what opportunities can come to you. It's limiting your ability to be happy and to live a fulfilled life. And why? Because you're obsessing over something that already happened or that hasn't even happened yet, so may never even happen. You're torturing yourself. There's nobody else in the world who is thinking about this thing in the way that you are, to the degree that you are, or that knows that you're doing this, really, except for yourself. It's like you're the only one who's experiencing that suffering. And that's basically what it is. It's a self-created suffering. You are creating reasons for yourself to suffer by going back over these things that bring pain, emotional pain. They may even cause physical pain if you continue to do this long enough. So give yourself a break. Don't be so hard on yourself. I caught myself doing this the other day. Basically, I was disciplining my daughter, and my husband walked in, and he saw that she was very upset, and emotional. He began to basically participate in the situation, in the conversation, and was talking to my daughter and giving her some suggestions, basically, of what she could do to feel better. You know, he's trying to help the situation. However, to me, at the time, it felt like he was undermining me, like he didn't trust or believe in my ability to work through the situation. So I took it very personally. I got very defensive and I got very triggered and worked up about it. In the moment, I didn't say a whole lot to him, but I spent some time, ruminating over it, obsessing over it. And I'm glad I didn't let it, linger on any further, because I probably would have in the past. And, it's a hard conversation to have because it brought up a lot of, deep like wounds from within me, like, because I was realizing why I was so affected by this. But after I talked to him about it, I felt so much better. I felt like, I was just showing up for me. I was honoring how I felt. And that was me, changing, making a different decision than I would have in the past. Because typically in the past, I have just sat with these things by myself. I didn't talk much about my feelings, especially when they were deep and very personal like this, because I didn't want to look or feel vulnerable or weak, right? Because I knew I would get emotional. Oh, but all that's doing is just punishing me. That's literally like torturing myself, to leave myself with that all by myself. Nobody else is suffering from that but me, because I'm the one who's keeping it alive in me, in my mind, and also therefore in my body. But like, why, right? Why am I doing that? Why am I keeping this alive? It's not even that important, and it's not doing me any good. I'm literally just keeping this alive within me so that I can continue to punish myself and remember this and feel bad about this. We don't always see it this way. I didn't realize this is what I was doing until recently. So be careful and make sure you're not doing that. Talk about it, right? Talk about how you feel with somebody you can trust, or write it down. Journaling, I found to be really good with this. Of course, taking a walk and moving your body, getting out in nature can be good too. Or even just going within and really allowing yourself that time and space to feel the emotion and allow it to pass through you, and allow yourself to receive the message that it's come to communicate. And I do speak about this a little bit more, about what is emotional experiencing and how to do that and go within to understand why we're feeling these things and become conscious of where they're coming from, and that helps to release it. I did go into it more in one of my recent videos called about daily practices for self-love, so I'll link that down here below in case you want to learn more about that. But it was really just a brief overview, so if you would like me to go into that in more detail, please let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to do so. And of course, if you haven't yet, I would love and appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. So number 3 kind of just plays off naturally about what I was just saying and that example I just gave, which is to not take things so personally. That's literally like deciding to take something that has nothing to do with you and use it to punish yourself. And I say that because this is something I had been doing on autopilot for years and years and decades of my life without even realizing it until very recently. And wow, that's a hard truth to accept, that you're doing that to yourself. But I was guilty of that. It's a work in progress, but I'm doing much better. And if we take the example that I just shared, this is basically what I was doing, right? My husband really just had all the best intentions. He just wanted to help our daughter. He just saw her, feeling really upset and having a hard time like understanding and managing those emotions. And to be honest, I was doing the best I could in that moment to help her, but it wasn't really resolving the situation. So he just wanted to help. But I unintentionally or unconsciously in the moment decided to take that and make it mean something. Make it mean something that it didn't. And not only that, but make it mean something about me. And it had nothing to do with me. And it kind of created this whole story. I went down this rabbit hole with it. But that's also because I realized why I was getting so triggered by this, because I was taking the time to feel my emotions and not self-abandoning. I did, after that, go on my own to take the time to do that. But yeah, there's no need to do that, right? Everyone has their own things going on, and it usually has nothing to do with us. And even if it seems like it has something to do with us, or even if they were to tell us that, The truth is, it's really just their own reflection of them and how they're feeling, hence why I reacted that way, right? Because I had my own things going on with that. I had triggers with that were deep within me that I wasn't aware of until that happened. And then I took the time to go within, to ask myself the questions and to just feel the feelings. And that began to reveal to me why this was going on. And the fourth thing that you can do that might be a little bit more abstract and a little bit less practical, but I can also go into this much more in other videos if you like, so let me know, it's to stop looking for validation outside of you, to stop measuring your self-worth according to things that are outside of you. And, you know, I get it because I've been doing this too. If you didn't get that validation when you were growing up, if you didn't get that feeling of unconditional love, that you were worthy no matter what you did or didn't do, you know, no matter how you felt or didn't feel, what you said or didn't say, how you acted or didn't act, what you achieved or didn't achieve, you know, it didn't matter. You still felt worthy because your parents or your caregivers, the people around you made you feel that way, you know, then that's great. That's great. And, you know, that's something to look up to. But I think most of us have felt like at least parts of that were missing for us when we were growing up. And so when you don't feel that within, because you haven't received that information, basically, or you haven't had that experience, we look for it, right? Because it is something that we need. We have basic needs, a need of being loved and feeling like a part of the community. And so if we don't feel it within, we don't build that within, we begin to look for it without. But that, all that does is it puts pressure on the people in your life, and it sets a really high standard, you know, high expectations, because now not only do they need to just, you know, be a good husband or like a respectful child or something, but they need to like fulfill this need within you that you are not even fulfilling yourself. So it's also just not fair to have these high expectations of them that they're just not going to be able to meet or fulfill, and that's going to set you up for disappointment. But really, you shouldn't have any expectations on anyone anyways, because you can't control what's happening outside of you. You can't control what they do, and you don't need to control it, right? You don't need anything outside of you to come in and make you feel whole or worthy. Now, that's not to say that we don't, as humans, have, you know, certain dependency tendencies or needs as well. But I think, generally speaking, you know, in our society, it's gone way the other way. This is what we really need to focus on, is bringing our power back to us, you know, bringing that your power back to you, bringing your energy back to you, back to your center, and just bringing that focus back on you instead of continuing to look outwards. You know, what are they doing? Am I getting approval from this person? Am I going to get validation here? Because every time you don't get it, or it's not fulfilled in the way that you believe it should, it crushes you. And so you're basically setting yourself up to be let down. And then what happens after that? Well, then we start to beat ourselves up because of it. Oh, you know, I'm so lonely. Nobody, you know, I give to everyone else and nobody's giving to me. And why can't anyone like see me or appreciate me? And then we begin to self-punish also with these thoughts and with these feelings. And if we're not careful, they can quickly spiral, and we can begin to ruminate about them and think obsessively about them and continue to live with this belief and this thought in our minds wherever we go throughout our entire life, torturing ourselves, punishing ourselves constantly with this idea that we've now created, all because so-and-so didn't do something like we wanted them to do. I know it sounds kind of crazy and like obvious when you talk about it and look at it this way, but I know also from personal experience that when you're in it and it's just become so natural and automatic to you, it feels very different, and it can be very hard to see and acknowledge that this is what's going on. So I hope that this video helps you to wake up to this and to understand this, because it starts with that, right? It starts with awareness. It starts with becoming conscious of it, because only then can we begin to make changes, to show up for ourselves in a different way, to stop focusing on these things that don't make us feel good and that are not healthy for us. So I hope you found that helpful. Please let me know if you did. I would love to hear, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.